Welcome families to Family Church. It is so cool that we get to still do church together, just in a different way. I have been so encouraged by seeing all your photos and videos coming through of you guys doing family church with us. Let's check out some more of those.
You have no birthday, you have always been. You alone have no beginning and no middle and no end. You're always with me, you are everywhere. In New Jersey or in Egypt, even outer space, you're there. Everything you are and do is unbelievable but true. You're the God of wow! Amazing, how could this be? You're the God of whoa! You're more than I could ever dream. The more I learn about you, exclamation points abound to the God of wow! You're never needy, how could you be? You made everything.
Things I'm excited for: meeting Jesus and no sicknesses and no pain, and seeing people who are special to us but have passed away or gone home. I'm interested about how old will we be in heaven? Is heaven the same for everyone because people like different things?
Wow! Amazing, how could this be? You're the God of whoa! You're more than
I have died, but Christ lives in me.
And I now live by faith in the Son of God,
Who saved me, who loved me and gave his life for me.
Galatians 2:20.
I can't find the words that could be big enough, loud enough. There could be no song.
Well, how great was that? Keep sending in your photos and your videos to us and to each other to keep encouraging each other that we are doing family church together. Well, last week we continued our series and we actually finished our series on the life of the disciple. We finished up by looking at where is the home of a disciple. We looked at how the home of a disciple, our actual home, is in heaven with God forever. And we also learned that it's only through Jesus, what he did, his death and resurrection, that we can enter into our forever home. Well, with this in mind and with Easter coming up, we are going to zoom in on the cross of Jesus. We'll be looking at how the guilty are set free, but Jesus the innocent dies. At the end, we will be joining together in a celebration because we know that Jesus doesn't stay dead. In fact, he is alive now and forever. Well, let's continue to do family church right now. Jump up, find space, and we're going to continue by starting with a song.
Jesus, he's fully God and fully man. That's really hard to understand. So let me try to explain. Jesus, his word upholds the galaxies, but he babbled like a baby in his mother's arms. Jesus understands the universe, but he had to go to school to learn how to write his name. Jesus walked upon the ocean blue, but his feet got tired and dirty too on the dusty roads. Jesus cried when his friend Lazarus died, but his power brought him back to life when he called his name. He's told us trust in Him for eternity. He's totally God and totally man, both in one. He's the great I am, to save the world, fulfill God's plan. He had to be totally God, totally man. He's totally God and totally man, both in one. He's the great I am, to save the world, fulfill God's plan. He had to be totally God, totally man, totally God, totally man.
Now for today's activity, what we'd like is to hear from your kids about two very specific questions to do with Easter. Now, parents, you are not allowed to give any so-called correct answers. We want to hear their honest first answers, and whatever comes to mind is totally okay. But we would like to hear, as we prepare for Good Friday and Easter Day, to hear their answers to two questions. The first question is, why is Good Friday called Good Friday? What do you think? The second question is, what is Easter all about? So send them on your iPhone. If you can, turn it landscape and film it that way. It'll make it much easier for us on the other end. Send it through. We'd love to hear their answers about why Good Friday is good and what Easter is all about. We can't wait to see what they have to say. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing 3 services of Family Church, all to do with Easter. So what we thought would be wonderful to do is, each time we gather, we're going to see and hear and read the whole Easter story in a bunch of different ways. And then we're going to dig into one specific part of that story. So today we're going to watch a clip online that shows us the whole Easter story from beginning to end. And then we're going to zoom in and read Matthew 27, all about how Jesus and Barabbas come before Pontius Pilate. Let's see how we go.
God's story, Easter. So part of God's story is about Easter, and it begins like this. You might know Easter as the Sunday a ginormous bunny hides chocolate inside plastic eggs. But Easter is really all about how much Jesus loves us and how God sent him to rescue us. Remember how the Jews, God's special family, were waiting for a king to come rescue them? Well, Jesus was the king, and this rescue was the whole reason he came to earth. God had already rescued the Jews once before, but this time it was going to include everyone. So one night, Jesus told his friends about the rescue. Exciting, right? But talking about this rescue was sad. That's because Jesus was going to rescue the world by dying. Kids, every mean or bad thing we do deserves punishment. By dying, Jesus took our punishment. Lots of things in life have good parts and bad parts. And just like candy bars are mostly good, as long as you brush your teeth after you eat one, this story is a really good one. Anyway, talking about the rescue made Jesus sad since he didn't really want to die. Thankfully, we can talk to God when we're sad, so Jesus took a few friends into a garden to pray. In the garden, a guy named Judas, who people thought was Jesus' friend, came with some people to help arrest Jesus. Peter, one of Jesus' true friends, was so mad he cut off a servant's ear with his sword. But Jesus didn't want his friends to hurt others, so Jesus healed the ear and let them arrest him. Then Jesus was taken to trial. One of the most powerful men in the city, Pontius Pilate, wanted to let Jesus go. But many of the people wanted Jesus to die. They didn't believe he was the Son of God or any kind of king. Even after all the miracles Jesus did, like healing sick people and making blind people see, they didn't believe in him. The people were so mad, they started yelling, "Kill him!" So Pontius Pilate let the soldiers take Jesus. The soldiers made fun of the idea that Jesus was a king. They put a crown of thorns on his head and nailed him to a cross. Many people watched, but not all of them wanted Jesus to die. His mother and close friends were there too. Just imagine how they must have felt. Once Jesus was up on the cross, the sun stopped shining for 3 whole hours in the middle of the day. But those soldiers kept right on making fun of him. They said, "If you're really God's son, why don't you just call on some angels to save you?" Jesus could have called on angels to save him, but he loved us so much that he wanted to rescue us. So instead, he prayed to God, "Father, I place my life into your hands." At that moment, Jesus died. And when he died, the soldiers who had just killed him realized he really was the Son of God. Later, Jesus was put into a tomb and a big rock blocked the entrance. Jesus' friends thought that was the end. But 3 days later, God sent an angel to roll the stone away. Don't worry, Jesus could get out on his own. The angel moved the rock so everybody else could see the tomb was empty. Jesus' friends were the first to stop by the tomb. The angel said, "He has risen," which is another way of saying Jesus is alive. Nobody could believe it. Jesus took our punishment and then proved he really is the Son of God by coming back to life. Now, if we choose to follow Jesus, God forgives us for all the wrong things we do because Jesus already took our punishment. And that's the story of Easter.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad you can join us today as we read through the Bible and do family church together. I hope you have your Bible open in front of you so that you can follow along as we look at our story today. Now I've summarised our story and our talk today by the words I have on my board here. What's that I hear you say? There are no words on the board. Yeah, I know that. They are words, they will be words eventually, but these are magical words, and I'm going to show you how to make letters come alive out of just these squares. Now you might like to follow along with me and copy what I do so you can learn to do magical letters as well. So maybe pause the video and copy down exactly what I have here on a piece of paper, and then you can follow me as we go along. Well, let me reveal the first word for us so that you can see how this works. Can you see how those letters came out of those blocks? We have the first word of our summary, the. At the end of our talk today, I would like to show you the whole alphabet and maybe numbers as well, so that you could write your own secret magical word message. Maybe you could send it to us and we will try and work out what it is, but you might need to give us some clues because it's quite hard, as you can tell. We're going to leave this for a minute because I have a question for you. Have you ever done anything wrong? Put up your hand if you have. Be honest now. I have to put my hand up. The Bible tells us that everyone has done the wrong thing sometime. I wonder what happens when you do something wrong at school or at home. What does your teacher or mum or dad say? Do they say, "Oh, that's all right, it doesn't matter"? Well, that's sort of what we hope they'll say, isn't it? But it's not usually what they say. Usually they will say that you deserve to be punished. And when someone does something wrong and they deserve to be punished, we have a word for that. I'm going to reveal that next on our magic words. The word for someone who has done something wrong is guilty. Can you see that in our words? Well, our reading today was about a man called Barabbas. Now, do you know that this story of Barabbas is in all 4 recounts of Jesus' life? We read it in Matthew's Gospel today, but it's also in Mark's, Luke's and John's. Maybe after our family church today, you might have a look and see where it appears and see what's different about the different tellings and what's the same. And if you have any questions, please ask Mum or Dad, or you can send us a message and ask us as well. We'd love to help. Well, you know, we went to look for this story in our children's Bibles at church, and we got lots of them, and we couldn't find it anywhere. It's not in any of them. It might be in some somewhere, but not any that we have. And we wondered why that was the case, because it's a pretty interesting story, as I think you'll see. Now, Barabbas was a man who was very guilty. He had done lots of wrong things. We're not sure exactly what, but he was some sort of terrorist. And he'd been found guilty, and his punishment was that he was to die. Then along came Jesus. Jesus had done nothing wrong. Pontius Pilate could not find anything that he had done wrong. But there was a big crowd outside asking for him to be killed. So the governor gave the people a choice. Who would be better to release? Jesus, who was innocent, or Barabbas, who was guilty? Who do you think Pilate thought they would choose? Which choice would be better? Made more sense? Well, perhaps Pilate thought that the people would see how silly they were being, but they chose Barabbas. He deserved to be punished, but they wanted him set, and that's another word on our board. Let's have a look. Barabbas was set free. So this story, even though it has real people, is a little bit like the stories that Jesus used to tell, his parables, because it explains something about God for us. We are all guilty of sin. Now, our sin may not seem as big as Barabbas's, but it still brings punishment, and we are still guilty. The Bible tells us that the punishment for sin is that we can't be friends with God. But because of Jesus, because of what he's done, we are not stuck in our punishment. We get to go free. And that's the last word of our magical words. Let me fill it in. As Easter gets close, we remember what Jesus did. He took our place, and he made a way for the guilty, all of us, to go free and be friends with God forever.
All right, well, now I have a little challenge for you families. We've been doing a little bit of sitting and watching. Now it's time to be moving around. Now, I want you to go and search throughout all of your house and see if you can find 3 items that help you remember the meaning of the word guilty. Now, I've had to get a little bit creative, and so will you. So here's what I come up with. I want to see what you can come up with as well. The first item that I found was a piece of material that's red. Often when we read about our guilt or our sin in the Bible, it talks about how the crimson red of our sin is washed white by Jesus. So that reminds me of guilt. The second one that I found is a weight. Now, when we're found guilty, when we know of our guilt, that's a bit of a weight to carry, isn't it? It's heavy. But Jesus says that his burden is light, and he removes the guilt from us, so we don't have to carry it anymore. So that reminds me of guilt. And the last one that I found was a funny one. I found a glow stick. Now, this reminds me of guilt because when you crack a glow stick, it lights up, but you can't get it back to its original place. Once you've cracked it, you can't uncrack it. And it's also the same with our guilt. Once we're guilty, we're no longer innocent. And without Jesus, we can't go back to being innocent. We're just stuck like a cracked glow stick in our guilt. But Jesus came to set us free from all of it. So what 3 items can you find around the house that can help you remember, what does guilt mean?
Hi everyone. Today we're going to be doing a teaspoon prayer activity to relate to today's talk. Teaspoon prayer is when we say thanks to God for something, sorry to God for something, and please to God for something. Today we've learned about how Jesus gave up his freedom for ours. So let's think about something that we've been set free from and don't need to worry about anymore because of what Jesus has done for us. Dear God, thank you for setting us free from the need for material things, knowing that you will always provide for us. Amen. We also learned about how Pilate, the judge who sent Jesus to the cross, listened to the crowds who wanted Jesus crucified, even though he knew he was innocent. Let's think about a time that we did something wrong, that we knew we shouldn't have, and ask God for forgiveness. Dear God, we're sorry for the times that we get annoyed at our parents when they ask us to help them with chores around the house. Amen. We also know that in life times will get tough and hard, so let's ask God for help by saying please to him. Dear God, please help us in this time to keep safe and make sure that our friends and families don't get sick. Amen.
Well, if you'd like to have a go at making some magic words, there's a link in the caption to our YouTube video where you can find a PDF that will explain how to do all of the letters of the alphabet and even some extra things. I wonder if you can tell what my word is going to be. Send us through some pics of what you're going to make with your magic words. We can't wait to see. What a fantastic time we have had together here at Family Church. I wonder if you guys can remember the 4 magic words that were revealed to us. The guilty go free. Well, today we opened up in the Gospel of Matthew and we looked at how we are just like Barabbas, guilty. Guilty because of our sin. And just like Barabbas, we deserved punishment for our sin. But just like in the story of Barabbas, Jesus the innocent takes his place. Jesus the innocent also takes our place, and the guilty go free. We'll tune in next week at Family Church at Good Friday and Easter Sunday. On Good Friday, we are going to continue to look at and continue to remind each other of the price Jesus paid. The price Jesus the innocent paid for us the guilty to go free. We'll see you then.